Hello viewer, welcome to my first Journal With Me video. I thought instead of just talking about journaling in general or some other topics that I would explain my thought process as I'm putting this journal spread together. If you don't want to hear about my process, you're more than welcome to mute me and just sort of body double and journal along beside me, or you could put on your own music. You could put a TV show on in the background. You can just not watch this video at all. It's up to you. But this is the layout that I will be making today. It's not my favorite layout. In fact, it's one of my least favorites, but it's one that I have footage for of me putting together, so I thought I would start here. But even if you do not like this layout, like me, and you feel that it's too cluttered, some of the same concepts and the design choices that I made, well, not necessarily the design choices, but the same sort of ideas behind what I was doing here can be applied to some of my other layouts that are not so cluttered and filled with things, elements on the page. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, I'm not a professional designer. I am not a designer at all. I just like doing journaling pages, and these are things that I just learned over the years doing my own journaling and what I found to like and what works for what I like. So take these thoughts and things with a grain of salt. Right now, what I am doing is I am looking for something to base my page around. And so I always start with something that calls to me and is speaking to me in the moment, usually for that week, because I do these weekly. So I'm like, what do I relate to this week? And you could see I already have these sort of elements, these paintings and poetry printouts and gloomy cards from Megan Rhiannon, all already printed out, and I just save those for journaling. And I try to cull the clutter by not printing things that don't call to me or speak to me. So here I chose a painting that I just thought was really beautiful, and in that moment I was thinking, this is what I want to build the spread around. So I choose an element to build the spread around. Well, here you can see not only am I choosing a painting, I'm choosing some poetry. And one thing I will say is that I made the mistake of choosing 3 different things of working around as opposed to just one thing to work around. And that's why the page became so cluttered in the end. But I had a fun time doing it, so and it was relaxing for me, which is the point. So I think there is value even in these spreads that I don't necessarily like afterwards. In the moment, I am enjoying myself. I am relaxing. I am thinking and expanding my horizons and using my creative juices, getting them flowing and thinking in a creative way. So it's not a waste, even if I don't like the layout. It's the process. It's the journey, as cliche as that is. It's the journey, it's the getting there that is important. At least that's the way I like to look at it. I post my layouts on Instagram, but I even post the ones that I don't like generally. Just because somebody else may like them, but also it kind of keeps it my feed a little more realistic in a way, because not everything is perfect. Not everything is a designer's dream. Nothing that I make is a designer's dream, but um, it's something. And here I am just playing around with those 3 elements that I chose: the painting, the poem, and the gloomy card. The Gloomies cards come from Megan Rhiannon, or at Her handle is Petite Gloom. Check out her videos and her work. It is marvelous. I love it. And the little messages on these cards often call out to me in different ways that, I don't know, it just, I feel a connection to something when I read some of these cards sometimes. So I definitely recommend them, especially using in your journal, because it gives you a sort of journaling jumping off point. What I'm doing here now is I have this yellow tannish paper, which is the same paper I printed the poem on. And the Gloomies card you can see is really like a stark white paper, whereas the poem is this tannish paper with little leaves on it and such. And so I'm trying to carry over the tannish look of the paper from one side of my spread over to the other side of the spread. And I'm doing that by putting some of that tannish paper underneath the Gloomies cards. So that way they don't look so out of place on the page. And then what I'm doing now is I'm looking for something that is that bright white color to put behind the poem, so that way it matches the Gloomies card in a way. So this is one way you can take elements that seemingly don't belong together and still put them on the same layout and the same spread. So you can take two things that are maybe speaking to you or calling to you, and you're like, but they don't look alike. And then you can make them look like they belong together, as long as you're carrying out one element in one place and carrying it out in a different part of the layout or the page. I tried to, oftentimes I go for the opposite side. So you could see in one corner I have the Gloomies card, and then the other corner I have this poem. And then, so I took the brown paper and put it behind the Gloomies card in the one corner, and then sort of catty corner, there's that whitish grid paper that I put behind the poem. What I'm doing now is there's a sticker on that sheet that really has a lot of the colors and the vibe of the painting. And so I was looking for a place to put that sticker because I want to carry the element out. I don't want the painting to feel like it doesn't belong on the page. So I want to carry those elements, those colors and the vibe of it, and carry it out elsewhere on the page. And what I'm doing here is I have these classical looking transfer stickers, which are sort of like tattoos for paper. They're marvelous. They make it look like you sketched things onto the page. I love them. And the ones I have are sort of classical looking, and I was thinking the painting was classical looking, so I could put some of those transfer stickers elsewhere on the page with the other elements that I'm using on the page that seemingly don't belong together, and in that way carry it out at another part of the page. And this is sort of how I choose the little design elements to complement the big things that I choose at the beginning. So I start with one, the thing that is calling out to me. And in this instance, I chose 3. Beware, it'll make your page cluttered if you choose 3. And then 2, I look for the little things that help me carry out the different elements of those things that call to me on one side of the page and carry them out onto the other side of the page. So I get some contrast in style types on my layouts while making them also look like they belong together. So I don't know, I think that's my biggest secret, which probably designers are like, that's no secret. It's but it's just something I've learned over the years, and I've done with designing rooms and such too. Like if I have two different types of wood in a room, I can make it work if I carry out each type of wood in a different part of the room to make it look like it was intentional and it belongs. And that's sometimes how I make things cohesive in in a room. Well, I used to. Now everything's just sort of a mess and cluttered, but that's how I used to think of it. Carry out things and make it look intentional. That's sort of, yeah, that's my biggest piece of advice I think I could give you. So, video over, we're done. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but I think that that is what I'll probably be repeating throughout this video is that, as I'm taping things down here, um, is that when I am making those little design choices, those little choices of what little stickers or what little elements I want to put on the page, I'm usually looking to carry something over to another part of the spread to make things look like they belong. And so here I'm thinking, you could see me just sort of fidgeting with my fingers. And I'm pulling out some Gloomies stickers because I thought that white sheet, that grid paper just wasn't enough. I needed something else to pull everything together. So obviously those Gloomies stickers are sort of in the same style as the Gloomies card. So I thought something that matches, goes with the vibe of something else on the page, which would be the painting, because the painting, I'm like, how do I make it look like it belongs with this Gloomies card? Well, I'm going to cut out this candle here. And the candle, I chose the candle because it's sort of, has an old vintage classical, can have like a sort of old vibe to it. So I thought this wouldn't necessarily look completely out of place next to the painting. So I want to put that Gloomy sticker next to the painting in order to make the painting and the Gloomies card look like they belong together on the page. So I'm just trying out different areas, and I do this a lot where I just move things around a while before I commit to gluing them down, just to see, because there's always the obvious spot you could put something, which I think down below next to the painting was the obvious choice for this candle, but sometimes other places can look nice and not be so obvious. And plus, I didn't know how I felt about the candle being, not only would it be by the painting, it'd be right next to that Gloomies card. So it'd be two of the same style type things right next to each other. And I didn't know if I would like that. I usually like to put, as you can see, contrasting things together. But they carry out elsewhere on the page. I love that Gloomy Darling sticker, and sometimes I wish I had thought of that, Gloomy Darling. I don't know why, I just love that phrase. And so I love having that on hand to put around on my spreads. And so I'm going back to the obvious spot there, down below next to the painting, to put that candle, because I do think that is the best place for it, even though it's right next to that Gloomies card, but it'll work. And then here I was thinking that fountain looks pretty classical. Looks like it would go with that columned building that's in the painting. So I was trying to figure out a place for it, and I thought it would be thin enough to sort of place next to that Gloomies card, and then I didn't like it, so I ended up not using it. And instead I went with the painting that had the dark greens and such in it, because the colors, the painting that I use on the spread, it's hard to tell from the video because it looks so dark, but it has these dark green colors. And so the sticker I end up using has those dark green colors. I'm looking for a different sticker now, but ultimately I'll choose the one that was on the page I already had in my hand. And it also has a frame around it as if it's in a museum. It's like a museum series, and this is from Slowly Warm Company. I love her work so much. It's gorgeous. And she has like a museum series and a museum and autumn series too, if you like autumn. And I thought the frame that was around that photo made it look made it look like it could possibly have a classical look to it because, I don't know, we see classical paintings in museums a lot, I guess. Or you can see them in museums a lot. Or they seem like they should be in museums. I don't know. It just, the frame, the thick museum frame made me think classical. So I was like, it sort of matches the other painting, and the colors in it make it look like it belongs together. But right now I'm just gluing down this candle and star. I'm talking about the sticker that I'm not even messing with on the screen. But yeah, I'm gluing down the star, or maybe I taped it down. Did I tape it down? I probably did, because this might have been before I was using craft bond glue for those little elements. I love using double-sided tape because it's just less messy than glue, but it eventually it leaves a mark on the other side of the page, which I'm fine with, but I know would bug some people. And sometimes when you're messing with especially printable stickers, you don't want to have to finagle with the double-sided tape to try to fit it on skinny parts of the printable, if that makes sense. So you, or the just oddly shaped portions of it, and so it's just easier to get out the stick of craft bond glue. The craft bond glue is amazing because it sticks so much better than just regular stick glue. And here I'm putting on the transfer sticker that I was talking about. And again, it looks like it comes from classical architecture, the illustration on this. I'm just using this, what is it called, like a bone fold? It's something you use to fold papers and such with when you're making notebooks and books and bookbinding, things like that. And I just use that to rub the sticker onto the page, but you can actually buy sticks for this purpose on JetPens, jetpens.com, and that, which is where I bought these transfer stickers. So if you're interested in transfer stickers, go to jetpens.com. I love the black and white ones. There's some other ones that look like watercolor on the page that are beautiful. Like I said, it's like a tattoo for paper. And look at that. It looks like I drew that on there, but I am not that good of an illustrator. I cannot illustrate at all. That's why I just take other people's work and make my spreads. And oh, I'm putting my dots on there to mark which page I'm going to be journaling on and which page I will commonplace on. So obviously where I stuck the poem is where I'm commonplacing, because I am commonplacing with the poem. And the Gloomies card technically isn't part of my journaling, but I'm just decorating my journaling page to match the other page. And now I'm cutting out another transfer sticker. That's one thing with these transfer stickers, is you have to cut them out, which can be kind of tedious. I hate scissors work. I just hate cutting things out. So it's just, and I have these tiny scissors that I'm using at the moment, and they're good for cutting out small things like this, but sometimes they hurt my hands. And then I'm carrying out, again, when you put one element on one side of the page, carry it out on the other side of the page. So I put the transfer sticker over on the right side of the page, up in the upper right corner, so I'm putting it in the lower left corner of the other page. I'm putting this transfer sticker, and it just sort of makes the page look a little more cohesive, like these things belong together, or that I intentionally put them together because I did. And I love these black and white transfer stickers that against the Gloomies cards for some reason. I don't know why exactly, something about the contrast with them, but the beautiful sketches on these black and white transfer stickers just look gorgeous up against the stark white of the Gloomies cards. And I don't know why, it just adds something, I think, too, because Megan's style is so different from this style, so it's that contrast, but there's just something else about it. I don't know what it is, that I just like the way they look together. And so I put not only the one transfer sticker down in the corner, but I put a little bird up there. And even though I probably should stop, I keep adding more and more to the page. Oh, there's that sticker I was talking about. I think the battery died on my phone and I kept journaling and not realizing it. And so that one sticker is on the page. You can see it's got the dark blues and the greens and such as the other sticker, and it's got that thick border I was talking about. And then I'm putting a transfer sticker by the painting. So we have my three big elements here have these transfer stickers by them, so they look a little more cohesive. At least I think they do. They may not. Maybe that's why I don't like this spread so much. Maybe I was attempting to do something that I failed at. But since I made this layout, actually, I keep reminding myself as I'm journaling to tone it down, like stop adding stuff. Every time I go to add something else, I'm like, do you really need to clutter up this page more? Because I just did not like how I just kept adding and adding. At the time, I really enjoyed it. I was just really enjoy looking at the colors and playing with them and seeing where I could add things. And I don't know, I had a good time. So I'm adding some washi tape, and I'm just looking at which washi tape that I think either of those two that I held up could have gone with the painting, the colors in the painting, because the painting is quite dark like this one, but it's also got these nice greens in it like the other washi tape. So I use the stencil. The edge of the stencil is very, I don't know, it's like this zigzag sort of shape to it, and you can see when I use it to cut the washi, it makes this zigzag end at the edge of it. And I forget where I learned that trick from, but it just makes the washi look nicer. The edges of the washi look nicer, that is. The ends. That's what I'm trying to say. The ends of the washi, they look nicer. Look, I'm adding even more washi tape. Like, just stop, Cass. Come on. But I'm having fun, as I said before. I'll let myself have fun. So I put that gray and that blue on one part, so I decided to put it on the other side of the page so it looks a little more, because it just looked like it didn't belong there. So I was like, if I carry it out on another side of the page, it'll look more like it belongs. And it did a little bit. And then I got frustrated that it covered the painting, so or the sticker of the painting. And so I moved it behind it. And that is the layout that you can see. And I think in a moment it'll show it after I did the writing in it. The white space is for journaling and commonplacing, which I did not leave a whole lot of space for that, as you can see. And some weeks I do that on purpose. I don't leave a lot of space because I know I'll be so busy that I won't have a lot of journaling time in the end. And so I don't, because I usually make this a week ahead and then have it ready to go for my weekly journaling. And I'll know, oh, I'm going to be super busy this weekend, so I'm not going to have a lot of room for journaling. So then I let myself just go with it and overcrowd the spread a little bit, so that way I can have fun doing that sometimes. And then I have less pressure to journal a lot about the week when I don't really have the time for it. Because sometimes I always try to make time each week to journal because it's good for me, but sometimes you just don't want the pressure of journaling a whole lot, and having just that little part of the page there makes it look less intimidating. And so I'll purposely set it up that way sometimes. This time I don't think it was on purpose. I think I was having so much fun adding things to the page that I wasn't paying attention, that I was going overboard. Here I'm commonplacing a quote, and if I had my planner in front of me, I would read you the quote, and I don't. So I don't know what it says because my handwriting is tiny. That's one thing people tend to remark on my handwriting is that it is just so small. Um, in school, I remember somebody asking me if I had to use a magnifying glass to read my notes because my writing was so small. And a lot of times I don't refer back to my notes. I'm writing it in the moment to remember it later. But yeah, this is me doing a quote as far as my commonplacing. Not much room to commonplace, but that's okay. Again, it's less pressure on a busy week if I do it that way. I'm just adding some stars there because I felt like that space was so empty, but I didn't know what to add. So I just put some like asterisks. And then that is what it looks like. And then I journal on the left side of the page. And I think you can see what it looks like in the next cut. Yeah, there it is. So that's with my journaling and the commonplacing. So that is what it looks like in the end when it's all put together. It's quite cluttered, but again, that idea of carrying things over on one side, on the other side, is sort of my biggest secret, I guess, to creative journaling, is carrying things over. Make it intentional. Hope you enjoyed.